So, anyways, you already know who it is. You already know what it do, what we do. Dang, so there's a bench over there, right? There's two of them. But then they moved it over here, which is where people frequent to be on their phones and smoke that good in the privacy. So now I have to sit over here, which is all exposed to the humans, and almost certainly someone's gonna come over here to smoke their doobies and to be on their phones in the privacy of nature. Well, now, and the lighting is best over there. So do I stand there? And it's supposed to be... Anyways, you already know who it is. It's your boy, Mr. Inconvened. And then look at this. This is not a... What do you call this? Come on now. What even happened? What was the story here? I don't... Anyways, it's your boy. You already know who it is. Tis I Whistly. Inconvened at the moving of this bench. Anyways, where do I even sit? Do I sit over here and talk really loudly next to these people in their cars? Or do I sit over here and talk really loudly so I can stare at them, smoking their goods and being on the phone? Or do I sit here and look at the cars and the runners? I am inconvened at the moment. Anyways, or do I go in the stinking reserved parking slot, which may or may not have a camera, which is a light. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, yeah, it's so awkward. If a car comes over here, I'm gonna stand up and move. That's weird. I got some breakfast on my chin here. Dang, that's a handsome chin. Oh my. Wow. I have to get new JBL headphones, not sponsored, although she'd send me money because they're like on discount before the holidays. Normally they're like 45, maybe they're marked up. They're normally 30 for the holidays, and I only got $5 off of my normal $30 price. Anyways, you can only really, I only get these at Target, but I had one which is a gift and I broke it, and then I had another one and they got rained on recently, so I bought this one. Yeah. Anyways, it's your boy, you already know who it is. 2 silver sedan just passed me. This is a Matrix. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. I, the former pro wrestler, former cruiserweight champion, the Warrior, Whistly October, previously known as the Warrior, Whistly Jackador, and reviewing the Iron Claw. This movie is one of the saddest movies you ever watch. And it was really tough. Like, I could have forced a review when I watched it, and I watched it twice. But first of all, if you want to see Zac Efron in his stinking buff Zac Efron in his underwear the whole movie, go ahead. This movie has that. He's basically in his underwear and he's jacked as duff the whole movie. So, you know, if you're all about that flavor, go ahead and watch for that. That's just a review. That's just a comment. But anyways, the real story of this movie is about this Von Erich family, one of the greatest families in wrestling. They were very popular in Texas in the 80s, when pro wrestling was just getting its start. That girl in that Ford was type all right. Anyways, let me continue. So it's about this this wrestling family with a domineering father, a super domineering father, who's basically treated his kids like military people, insubordinate, and there's just a whole lot of pressure. And I know a little bit. I know a little bit about growing up with, that pressure and all those standards and those things like that, and just people being domineering or just very controlling and things like that. I know a little something about that. And I also was a pro wrestler, so I've been in the ring. I've had fans. I've had a health issue, rare condition, where I had to retire. And there's like a scene, not a scene, but in a real life scenario when I was working this job, and one of the fans found out where I worked, and they approached me, and I met them, and then I had a conversation with them. And this was when I retired, and I had a lot of potential. And so basically the fan, which was a total dick, by the way, he was like, hey, I was a fan. Like, no, he didn't say I was a fan. I know who he was, vaguely, because I met him at the shows and things like that. But he's basically like, hey, what happened? Why aren't you wrestling? And I told him that I had a rare condition, and it was a medical, and that I'm retired for good. And then, it took him a few seconds, 20 seconds to register it. And then he was like, oh. And then he said something disrespectful or some backhanded comment and walked away. And it was a cold walk away. And that was sad. I wanted to cry, It's like, because I felt like a failure to myself. I felt like a failure to my fan. And the guy was a dick to me all at the same time in a matter of moments, And then I told one of my coworkers, who was a good friend at the time, and she helped me just register the situation, things like that. But anyways, there's a lot, and especially pro wrestling and theater, live theater. You're getting that physical aspect. In theater is more you're playing a role, whereas pro wrestling, you are the main centerpiece, and people are literally giving you approval and even when it's negative. That's your goal, that's still very satisfactory. So it's a drug of its own, just being in pro wrestling and having approval and being in peak physical condition. And you have this testosterone and everyone's involved with the same story, That's a lot. It's a lot, and it's very wonderful. But the dark side of it is it's very overwhelming when, you're not getting that approval. You're not getting that, the animosity, the testosterone, the feeling, and the locker rooms are normally pretty fun because you're dealing with these artsy daredevil, adrenaline junkie types, free spirited people where you have, to me, more than wrestling, I miss the locker rooms of just how enjoyable they were and how fun they were. Don't get me wrong, pro wrestling was amazing, but just, just a group of people and the camaraderie in the space there was just something like I've never experienced before. But anyways, I digress. In the 80s, there was a lot of drugs, and they were pushing a lot of steroids because they wanted the wrestlers to be all jacked and stuff like that. Dang, I haven't talked about the movie in 8 minutes. Anyways, it has Zac Efron in it. It has Jeremy Allen White. There's a couple other characters who kind of deserve respect and stuff like that, but the main star of the show is really Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White. They got the star power. Everyone else they're there, but they don't have the star power of. And Zac Efron did the thing where he played Ted Bundy, so he's been picking up a steady resume of characters. And I've been trying to think: is this Zac Efron's best role? No, I don't think it's his best role, but I think it's one of his strongest roles to date. And I think it's his best role to date, but I still think Zac Efron still has more in the tank. But he played the character really well. Like I'm saying, it was one of his strongest roles to date, but it's not his best role. It's not his best movie. Although this movie is a tearjerker, not a masterpiece. For just a couple of reasons. Like the cinematography and some of the shot selection in this was just thinking, it'll make you cry, mind melting. Because just the way it opened with the black and white of the father, and then the whole movie focuses on this domineering father who's really tearing apart his sons and breaking the family, and it's being mixed together with this, there's this curse, and then there's this dominating father, and no one ever really puts them together as that one is really the other, and the other is not really that. It's really the one, and it's all really about the dominating father, And especially, when you're allied, that's your family and things like that. You're not thinking about, you don't see the full picture, like that's why basketball players, that's why professional players need coaches. They need someone who could see the whole floor. As good as LeBron James is, he still needs a coach not really, but as good as Luka Doncic is, or any other player, that you need someone to really see the whole full perspective. But the story is wonderful. I really don't want to spoil it, even though I normally spoil shows all the time in this one. It's just so sad, so depressing. Definitely probably the saddest movie I've ever watched. But Zac Efron did a good job. The shot selections were really good. Not every one of them. I would say this is a B+, but from a pro wrestling standpoint, I like 80s wrestling. I like classic wrestling. I can watch it in my spare time, in my free time, because I think it's enjoyable, and it really focuses on character building and the character dynamics. Iron Claw cast. This movie was just really great. We got appearance by Maxwell Jacob Freeman. Lily James is in it. She's from Baby Driver. She's outstanding. Lily James, she's like that. She was really good. I thought she could have done more in this movie. Like, she's so talented. Especially you saw what she did in Baby Driver. But, she had to play the supportive mother housewife role. And it's a true story. So, she has to play this sexist, not sexist, but, she has to play this, housewife character. Even though they do give her some strong moments and strong character traits, she has to play this housewife character, so her role is limited. I'm just saying her role is very limited. And then you have Harry Dickinson, who was good. You had Aaron Dean Elzenberg, who played Ric Flair. He was good. Was he the best? No. All credit to Chavo Guerrero. He played the Iron Sheik, a very well-known, controversial wrestler. But Chavo Guerrero Jr., he used to be in WWE, which is like the best pro wrestling promotion. He has really good in-ring work. And he's a third-generation wrestler, so he's been doing it for a long time. And Mara Tierney. Mara Trini played the wife of the main character, or not the main character, of the husband. Let's see here. I'm missing someone. Oh, Holt McNally played the father, and then Stanley Simmons was another character. And there's actually another brother in the movie, but they didn't talk about him. Let me see here. And it was written and directed by the same person. Let me see here. It's what's his name? Iron Claw director. Oh, Sean Durkin, who, he did a really good job. Yeah, and there's another brother in here, but they took him out for, they didn't want the story to be repetitive. But he wrote it and directed it, so props to him. This is the best in-ring wrestling of pro wrestling that you've seen in any movie. There's definitely a future for Sean Duncan. He definitely has like kind of a niche But his style, just honestly, the music, the music in this and the score was very, very strong. That's really what made this movie. Besides Zac Efron, buff Zac Efron in underwear, and this tragic story, and just a lot of good shot selection, like opening it with black and white, with the father just doing a chest stomp, and he should. Sean Duncan, all right, this movie was great. You should go watch it. It's a B+, one of the saddest movies ever. Absolutely, really great. And it really speaks to me as a pro wrestling fan, as a pro wrestler, as a lover of 80s wrestling. It is great. You should absolutely go watch it. It is a special movie. Just because the story is so crazy, but also, Sean Duncan, he opened up with black and white, and just, there's a whole centrifugal opening scene to the ending scene. It's very magical. Just the way he did it and the way it's performed. And again, it's one of the saddest movies I've ever watched ever. Yeah, heartbreaking. And there was actually a woman crying in the theater when I watched it the second time. And I know me and the person I was watching it with, we were about to cry too. So it is probably the saddest movie ever. Or in competition, therefore, with the saddest movie ever. Anyways, but I'm just going to critique Sean Duncan for a little bit. He should have committed. He had this great shot selection here. And again, this is a B+, but it could have been an A if they would have gave the movie more time to register certain events in the movie, which is kind of disappointing. But it's in the category of like a family movie, and family movies can only be 2 hours. They can't go 3-4 hours. They can't. It'd be nice if there was a director's cut with the full story and everything like that, but then it'd probably be a lot longer, but that'd be, closer to a masterpiece. Sean Duncan is good, but he's not, A-lister yet. He does have the capabilities, potentially, but overall, Sean Duncan, the writing was just as strong as the directing, but he didn't and I did enjoy the writing. I thought, you cross the T's and dot the I's, but my thing is just the main part for me was, the fact that Sean Duncan didn't, what's the story? The main part for me was that he didn't commit to his vision of the movie. Like, he had a good vision of the story, but also the story is already a real scenario that happened. He just didn't commit to the full, idea of what he was trying to go for it. Like, the opening scene with black and white and it being this gritty thing, and then, they have the light, and just, I just felt like, yeah, there's definitely, and I read this in some of the reviews, even though, again, I try not to review reviews. I try to, come at my take fresh, but sometimes I want different perspectives and different ideas, and I kind of took a couple of days longer to review this movie to really, just think about it. It's just pacing issues. There's a lot of pacing issues in this movie. It was not steady the whole way through. There wasn't any dips or low points in the movie, but just the pacing wasn't smooth. Christopher Nolan stuff is normally very smooth. Zack Snyder has the same problem where he's sometimes he'll focus too much on the visual style, the cinematography stuff, where he kind of forgets, there's a clock running and we got some places to go. I like I said, I like when movies keep it moving. The Godfather's 3 hours long, but that joint zips by, and it keeps it moving, which I like. But this movie did not keep it moving. There's a lot of slow parts, and after the first act, that joint just, It didn't dip down. It just slowed down. A dip is when you're drop. This one is just, it just gently it slowed its pace where it was very noticeable. It was noticeable that it slowed down, and especially the last cherry on top of that third act was slow. It was very slow. Yeah, and one of the things I think. This you could tell because they written the story with another brother into it, and then they wrote him out, and you could just tell there's gaps in the movie. Not this, but just gaps in the movie that kind of made this movie, not a fluid piece of cinema. It was, not choppy. It was just, slow. It was laggy. Like, this movie's buffering at parts, which is kind of frustrating. But it displayed the characters really well. And one of the points it did really well, it really, really, take it from me who, like, I am a fan of 80s pro wrestling, really captured the elements and the story and the essence and the culture of just the 80s pro wrestling. And made it fun, and especially when they're bringing up Ric Flair or Harley Race, and the music playing, and you get the gritty filter of the 80s. Yeah, like, as a wrestling fan, I'm like popping, I'm going crazy. And then they did like a suplex, a regular suplex on the concrete. That stuff hurts. I was like, woo, because and that hurts like crazy. You can't fake that, that's, and then even the way they talked about wrestling, where Lily James's character is talking to Zac Efron, who plays Kevin Von Erich. He's like, isn't it fake? And he's like, well, there's nothing fake about what I do. It's a theatrical performance, with athletics. There's a dog person here or a hiking person. So this concludes, but Iron Claw, stinking great. I normally don't give ratings, but I just want to clarify, this is not an A+ movie. This is not a masterpiece. It's really, really strong. It's more in the B+ area, but, for me, it's my personal, special piece of cinema, and something I really enjoy. Just the pro wrestling, not just a tragic story, but it is a story of triumph at the end. But, I love 80s pro wrestling, so being able to see, someone play Ric Flair, and, this great character who's just basically this playboy type character and stuff like that. There's people here, so I'm walking. This playboy character, and just all of that just makes me go crazy. It's so great. Even Harley Race, and you're just seeing all these, they're, after the match, they're like, all right, let's go drink and do drugs. That's 80s wrestling, Is it good? Absolutely not. But, yeah, I just love the storytelling and how these characters knew who they were. They were these gimmicks. They were the characters. They play the villains. They play the heroes. And it was great. The in-ring wrestling was garbage, but the wrestlers themselves, iconic. And just a fan of mine to, play pretend and watch these people, just have fun,